We're starting things off here at the Mason Village because in the previous episode we finally managed to build a raid farm and we got a good few emeralds so we can get all the terracotta that we need for the bridge. Oh, they're actually throwing me clay because I have Hero of the Village. I completely forgot about that part. So that's actually pretty nice to get some extra clay. I guess I can smelt the clay and get even more terracotta. And actually one thing that I am considering is I know I want to keep these villages alive. Unfortunately, I don't know if this is going to necessarily be sustainable for me to trade with the villagers in this kind of state. They don't tend to go back to their beds as often. They kind of hang around the bell. It makes it hard to keep track of which villager I traded with. So I'm kind of considering to still have this village animated, but also maybe underneath the village make some kind of villager trading hall for each specific village. So for this one, I'm only gonna have the masons underneath, only the farmers. So still stick to the theme of the village and only have those set villagers in it, but have a nice trading hall where I can just go trade with them in a very nice line, and I can go straight back to the start and I know exactly which one are restocking and which ones aren't. And I can also make a very tiny storage system next to the villagers so I can store all the drops that I trade with them right near them. The issue that I have right now is that ideally I would need some regular terracotta or some white terracotta, something that actually works to build this bridge. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like any of these villagers have that. They only have like a black terracotta, polished andesite. So this is another kind of thing where it makes it really difficult to see what I have with the villagers. See, this one for example has the cyan terracotta, which is definitely going to come in handy, but then he's the only one that has that trade. So for me to actually get all the blocks to build that whole bridge is gonna be a bit of a pain. So I'm really considering to only leave like 4 or 5 villagers in the village itself and then make some kind of trading hall either under the house or make some kind of different entrance around here. But that's probably gonna be a different project. This episode, I really want to focus on the bridge. And also to make it even worse, I can only get 12 terracotta at a time, which is gonna take me way too long to actually get this properly done. Would I be able to use some quartz? I guess quartz is the same, it's only gonna be 12. And I don't think that the polished one would actually be a good idea because it has the really rough texture and I don't feel like it feels bridge-like. Alright, so it's been about 20 minutes and this is what I managed to get from the villagers. So it's pretty much safe to say that building this bridge out of terracotta, it's not going to be an option, but it could be something that I can do with andesite, and maybe I can mix in some stone in the bridge and kind of go with the theme that's currently here until I actually manage to do the whole trading hall properly to get the items in a big amount, not like 2-3 stacks in an hour. And before you say anything is like, oh, why don't you go and find the mesa and mine the terracotta? The whole point of the world is to try to farm as much as I can instead of mining. And even though trading with the villagers, it's not necessarily farming, it's still a type of farming because I do need to make a farm for the emeralds. And once I have the actual trading hall complete, it should be much faster to actually get all the blocks that I need. Right, so the first thing that I'm gonna build is going to be the support of the 2 main legs of the bridge, I suppose. So I build a structure that goes onto the bottom of the ocean out of granite because I feel like that would feel better to see it underwater. And then I'm gonna take this polished tuff and that's going to be the pillar that goes all the way up to the bridge. So this is basically what's going to be supporting it. So I'm going to make a hole straight through here. And then this is actually going to go much higher than the bridge. So I'm going to have to decide on the distance that's going to be there. So I can pretty much do the exact same thing over here because it's going to be the same deal. It's going to be 2 pillars over here that I'm probably going to connect underneath with some kind of, I don't know, X pattern or something. Then there's going to be another 2 of these pillars on the other end of the bridge. And then I'm going to try to make the cables in between this towards the middle and then go back up onto the next set of pillars. And this is how the two pillars currently look like. I tried to actually make it an even distance from the middle, so whenever I'm gonna make the suspension chains, it's gonna look nice and centered like a bridge is supposed to be looking like. What is going on here? How did you spawn on this platform where I'm over here? What are you selling? Blue orchids, absolutely nothing useful as always. So to go back to this, that's how the pillars look like. I added some supports. Instead of doing like a cross pattern, I decided to just make some straight beams, and I'm kind of considering to maybe add some walls on the side of that to kind of make it look a bit more round, but I'm not 100% decided on that yet. I might try it just on one side just to kind of see how it looks like, which I did and immediately took down because it really doesn't look good, because there's no actual polished andesite walls, there's only regular ones, so it kind of looks off. If you do have any idea what else I could put there to make it look a bit better, do let me know down in the comments. And with that out of the way and not focusing on things that are not important, I actually added the chains that are technically supporting the bridge over to land, and I feel like it looks really good right now. And once I'm going to be adding the chain that goes something like this and meets in the middle with the other one from over on that side, I feel like the bridge is going to look almost complete. So there's going to be just a few small details to do. I'm still kind of thinking if I want to do actual chains or if I want to use fence posts. I'm gonna have to see which one looks a bit better. And then obviously, because everything is made out of full blocks, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to actually stop mobs from spawning. I was considering to either add some lanterns, but I think an actual lantern would look pretty bad, so I would probably need some kind of sea lantern or maybe even frog lights, or maybe I will just add some carpets on top, which I don't have, so maybe I'll have to make a sheep farm to get me some wool. But yeah, what do you guys think so far? I feel like it looks really nice, and it actually is a pretty good proportion for the bridge. I thought originally that it might be too small with the gap that we have over here, but I think it's pretty much the right size for what I'm actually aiming for right now. Obviously, the bigger the bridge, the more details you can actually add. So for just a bit of detail like I'm doing right now, I think the gap is actually pretty decent. And also I feel like it's actually getting me out of my comfort zone, because I usually don't build things like this. Oh, we're getting attacked. Can we get him? Oh, there's another one. How are spiders spawning over here? But like I was saying, I'm kind of stepping out of my comfort zone here, because I usually tend to build really small buildings to which I can't really add any detail. So I hope that now that I'm going to build this bridge and I'm going to be happy with how it's going to look like, which I'm already happy, I hope it's going to be much easier to start building even bigger things. Because at the end of the day, this is my own survival world, and it's my own personal mega base. And one stream later, and playing a bit more with the bridge, this is what I got so far. Let's land over here on this island so you can see exactly what's going on. I've seen some glow squid there, which is a good thing to know. So this is pretty much how the bridge is going to look like. What do you guys think? I feel like it looks really nice actually. So all I have to do now is to actually make the other side. And I think once I make the other side, it's gonna make it look even better. Because right now you can only see one single line here, which is kind of plain. If you look to the sides, you can see both of those cords basically going into the ground. And here you can only see one, so it's kind of like a 1D, let's call it. So once I'm going to be putting down the second chain, is going to definitely improve the looks of the bridge. I'm going to have to remove those two pillars there. I only put those there just to kind of see the center of the bridge. And the one thing that I was actually struggling with, because these are still full blocks that I went with, mobs can spawn on them, and I was trying to come up with a better lighting idea. I tried to use lanterns at first, but I don't like the fact that they don't sit flat on the block. So if I do it this way, they attach to the chain, but then there's a small gap underneath, and even though you can barely see it, I know it's there, so I don't like the idea. If I try to put it this way, it doesn't connect to the chain, which again doesn't work as it's supposed to be working. And I don't really have any other light source. I don't have any sea lanterns, I don't have any frog lights. and it's not like it's really easy to get a bunch of them. So yeah, it's not easy to actually get the sea lanterns or anything like that. So the idea that I came up with, which is gonna be a bit unobtrusive because you won't be able to see it unless you're like looking really close. I want to put lichen on the outside of the blocks, which is basically going to be on those blocks there. So I'm gonna add that polished andesite all across where the chains are. That's gonna add a bit of depth to the bridge, which I feel like it kind of needs because it's kind of plain and bland right now. So by adding those, it's gonna make it pop. I'm gonna add the lichen on all of these blocks here, and then on top of all those blocks there. So by looking at the bridge from a distance, you're actually gonna see it a bit nicer because everything is gonna be lit up as a contour of it. It was a big struggle to get this done on stream because I couldn't come up with a proper angle on this and it looked really bad. I managed to kind of figure it out at the end, but I still wasn't happy. So I just went into MiniHUD, I generated a circle that was big enough to touch both the pillars at the same time. And then I basically just followed the pattern of that. So now it's technically, I guess it's like a half of a circle, you could call it, I suppose. And I feel like that actually nailed it. I also tried to use other things here except chains, and unfortunately nothing really works the way I want it to. I tried to use fences, but the fences would connect to that block there, so that looks really bad. The best thing that I discovered, I kind of played in a creative world just to kind of see what's the best block to fit instead of chains, just because I don't have any blocks currently in the world. And what I came up with is actually the end rod. It's both a light source and it would look really good over the bridge. Unfortunately, I don't have any, and an end rod farm, it's not that easy to set up. I need chorus fruit, I need blaze rod, so there's a lot of preparation in that. So I believe I'm just gonna go with the lichen for the time being. I don't know if I want to change it later on. Probably not, because I did say that I want to leave the world looking like it was when I had made said build, because if I'm going to come back and change it, I'm going to forget what kind of resources I had at the time, right? So when we're going to come back to this build, basically, let's say in a year's time, we're gonna see, oh, I didn't have this resource, I didn't have that. So I can look back and see if I actually built those farms that I needed for this bridge. So I'm definitely gonna be building a different bridge somewhere at some point that is gonna be similar to this. So I'm going to be able to add all those new blocks into it, and we can see how the world progresses. And as you can see behind me, I'm finally done. This took way longer than I thought, but fortunately, I actually had all the resources that I needed, so I didn't have to grind anymore. There were definitely a lot of chains that I had to use, but good thing that I had a full shulker box of iron blocks, so that came in handy and I actually managed to finish the whole thing. Then I also added the andesite blocks, just like I said, to break up the textures, and I feel like the bridge looks really, really good even when you're on the bridge, which I guess that's how it needs to be because I'm gonna be using it. But let's try to fly over to our island over here and see how it looks like from afar. And I would say it looks really good. Now that I added the other side, you can see that it kind of adds kind of a double layer there, so it doesn't look as plain as it used to. I feel like the chain don't really have the full texture that I would want them to have, but unfortunately there's nothing else that works better at the moment. So I guess we're just gonna have to stick with that for the time being, and then we're gonna do something else on the next bridge. Now, to see if I have any lichen hidden around in any of my shulker boxes or my chests that I have around the place. And if not, then I'm gonna have to go find a cave and find some lichen to actually light up the bridge. I do have one more thing that I want to finish at the end of this bridge, just to kind of finish off the episode. But the lichen is the most important part right now. So even though I'm a hoarder, I didn't have any lichen. So basically I just made a very quick farm. It's just, you know, 2 observers and a dispenser here. I use the piston because it pulses faster if you use a piston than just placing it by hand. And then I'm pretty much sitting here without trying to hit the golem. And I'm just farming them away. Obviously, if you have a shears with efficiency or anything on it, it's gonna be much faster. If you add a few more dispensers, it's gonna be much faster. Look, I'm here for 30 seconds and I got over a stack and a half, so I think we're fine. And it looks like if I hit the middle block here, it actually harvests 3 at a time, which is actually pretty neat. And this is pretty much what 9 stacks of bone meal gets you. It's almost 9 stacks of lichen. I don't know how that happened, to be honest, because I would assume that 1 bone meal generates 1 lichen, but maybe something happened there where I didn't get all of them or something. But I hope it's gonna be enough to actually fill in the whole bridge. And I'm really excited to see how it looks like during the nighttime. And that's how it looks like from afar during night and lit up. You can see a small difference compared to the other side. So this is the one that's lit up, the other one isn't. So there is some kind of brightness going on. So I think it makes the bridge kind of stand out just slightly. And then on the bottom side, you can see that I did the lichen every other block. That actually takes care of the whole lighting on the bridge. I think the only places that I have yet to add anything are on those pillars over there, so I'm probably gonna have to add some lichen on each of those just to make sure that there's no mob spawning on top. And then I think that would be the whole bridge complete at this point. I don't know if I want to add anything else except removing those 2 pillars there. But if you guys have any suggestions or anything like that that I could improve the suspension bridge, just let me know down in the comments. There is only one thing left to do for this episode, and that is actually filling up this hole. And when I say filling it, I don't mean fully filling it. I know Ito would not approve of this, but I'm just gonna terraform over it and light up whatever it's underneath. If we manage to get 100 likes on this video, then I'll fill it all. And with that, the whole area has been fully leveled out. It looks pretty much like this. You guys already seen this on the time lapse, so you would know better how it looks because you've seen it from above. But I haven't really checked. I just tried to kind of look around here first, just to make sure that everything is level. There's no too big gaps to jump over, and it kind of matches the natural terrain, which I think I actually nailed. Maybe a bit of this side, it doesn't fully fit, but other than that, I think it actually looks like it's always been here. And if we go into camera mode and have a look around here, we can see that this is the hole underneath of it, and it's all full of torches. So there's no mob spawning in here. I killed the skeleton earlier. I forgot to place a torch here, but that's sorted now. So like I said earlier, if you guys want me to fill this whole thing, get me to 100 likes and I'll do it. If not, then I guess you're just gonna have to live with it. So yeah, now that we actually have a way to cross this water here, which I guess it's an ocean and a river, I don't know how you call that. And then this whole area has been flattened. I have a pretty nice canvas to start making the path over all the way to the end. And when I say the end, I obviously say the end portal, which is actually really close now that I think about it. Now that I built this bridge, which was a pretty big portion of the distance, the end portal should be just around here. Like I just need to go up here, past the burning zombie. And then I probably have to flatten out a bit more because there's some areas that don't really feel right. But if we go somewhere over here, if I'm not mistaken, it's just past these horses somewhere. There should be some torch spam, and then here we go. This is the drop that we have over to the end. So I am considering to make some kind of building over this just to kind of see it from afar, because just having a hole in the ground doesn't really feel good enough. I need to come up with a design. I don't know what kind of design it's going to be, but it's going to have to be end themed just to kind of make it obvious that this is the end entrance. And yeah, you can see the bridge from all the way here. Obviously, because I have the distant horizons, it looks a bit more weird from a distance. But without the mod, we wouldn't actually even be able to see half of it. So I guess it's a good idea that I have the mod and I can see really far away. I messed around with some settings and I kind of made it look a bit better far in the distance. So you can see that the mountains look a bit nicer now, even though you can clearly see it's not actual terrain. And then you can see my mountain over there, the mob farm. Obviously there's small glitches here and there, but it still looks better than not being able to see at all. And just kind of see fog all around me. And with the bridge now fully complete and with the area fully leveled at the end of the bridge, we are pretty much set up for the next episode to start building the path over to the end. And maybe, who knows, do the building for the end portal, but that all depends what kind of materials I'm going to need. So I might have to do some other different farms, we're gonna see how that goes, but definitely a farm will take priority because that would give me more materials for the next few episodes. As always, thank you for tuning in, I do appreciate all your support. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and share your thoughts below, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. Until next time, happy crafting!